Morning. Right, parking this morning. Welcome back to the channel. It's the first properly cold weekend of the year. Put it in your diaries for next year. It's always the last weekend in November in the UK when we get the first snow and proper cold weather. And it is pretty parky this morning. Heated seats parky. So we've been up at our lodge in Cumbria for the weekend, and we're at the back end of Storm Arwen, which has caused quite a significant amount of disruption across the country. A lot of really high winds. We had some branches, a couple of trees down here, and there's been a significant amount of snowfall across parts of the country as well, especially over higher ground. So in order to make sure we can keep travelling up to Cumbria, going to the places that we need to go to, we've decided to invest in some winter tyres this year. And that's what this video is about. It's about whether winter tyres are necessary or appropriate in the UK, where we don't really get massively cold winters most of the time. You know, we're a temperate country, we normally get sort of mild wet winters, but every now and again it throws us a really cold one. The advice with winter tyres is once the temperature generally drops below 7 degrees, then there is an advantage to having winter tyres on your car. Big parts of Europe, North America, Russia, winter tyres are mandated because they get proper winter weather conditions. And you know what it's like in this country though. In the UK you get a little smattering of snow, a little bit of ice, a bit of slush, and the whole world grinds to a halt, doesn't it? Everything stops, nobody can get anywhere. Now I've experienced winter tyres in properly cold climate conditions in Siberia. I'll put a link in the description below to the Siberia videos. And for somebody who wasn't familiar with them, they were absolutely remarkable. But that was in full winter freezing conditions. So what I thought I'd do is bob out this morning, Sunday morning. The roads should be fairly quiet. And I'm going to go on some really high roads. We're going to go to Alston, which is, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's England's highest market town. And together we're going to go over the A686 Hartside Pass. A bit of a warning there for the A66. Road closure sign. I'm not sure if that's for roadworks or because of the weather that we've been having. I could lose the hat now. Mrs. Local and I had a ride out over the A686 yesterday just to give these tyres an initial test, and once we got halfway up the pass the road was blocked, not by snow or ice, although there was a lot of snow and ice on the road, but by somebody in a Honda Jazz who decided to go up on summer tyres, got stuck and was blocking the whole road. So hopefully that's been cleared now. There should still be quite a bit of snow and ice on the road up over the Hartside Pass. Just looking across into the distance over there, I can see on the higher ground that there's still a lot of snow on the ground. Temperature at the moment is minus 2.5 degrees centigrade. We'll see how much that drops as we climb up. Now the tyres we've fitted to the Mini are Dunlops. They are Dunlop SP Winter Sport 4Ds. The 4D isn't the latest version of Dunlop's high performance winter tyre. They do a 5D now, but we got a good deal on these tyres, and they are a BMW recommended tyre as well for this car. I put a little thing on Twitter last week about fitting winters to the Mini, and I got a few questions. Why are you not fitting cross climates on? Why are you not fitting all season tyres to the car? Well, all season cross climates are a really good compromise, and they're probably a really good compromise in this country where we don't generally get really wintry conditions. But actually this car was sitting on summer tyres, Pirellis. It's only done just over 3,000 miles, so those tyres are only just bedded in really. And I think for the cost of swapping the tyres in spring and autumn, our preference was to have a full winter, which gave us better winter performance, and then a full summer in summer and swap them over. Now I've never tested or tried all season tyres, but you know, there are some really good, particularly Michelin's are making some tremendous all-season tyres at the moment, so that might be worth a look if you're thinking of putting on a tyre that you're going to use all year round, 12 months of the year. but we sort of committed to swapping the tyres over, so we thought a full winter was a better choice. So what are these winters like? Well, my first driving impressions obviously are here in the drive. It's a dry road with an air temperature of minus 2.5 degrees centigrade. Now ground temperature is usually 2 to 3 degrees lower than that, so we've probably got a road temperature of minus 5, minus 6. It's definitely a bit of frost sitting on the ground. You saw that the car was frozen up this morning, not massively but enough to need me to defrost it. You'll see that I used sort of slightly warm tap water to do that. Don't use water out of the kettle, you don't need to boil it. There's an old wives' tale about that possibly cracking your windscreen if it's really cold, that fast changing temperature. Just tepid tap water, a little bit of warmth in it. Now I started the car first this morning because we're up here away from any thieving eyes. But it's not always a good idea to leave your car running. My preference is to have the heater blowing on full on the windscreen, pour some tepid tap water across the windscreen, defrost the windscreen that way, give it a wipe as well quick, just straight after you've done it, otherwise it's really cold, that can refreeze again on your windscreen. But if you live somewhere, I suppose like we do down in Bolton, where there's a lot of active car thieves about, it's best not to leave your engine running on the driveway. So back to the tyres then. On a dry road, I have to say I'm not noticing much difference from the Pirelli summer tyres. The things that make winter tyres are a combination of a much softer compound, specifically designed to give you grip in icy and snowy conditions, deeper grooves in the tyres and thicker, more obvious tread blocks, with what they call sipes in them, which are the little cuts in the tyre blocks which help to dissipate water and get rid of water from under the tyre. And of course, because of that combination of a softer compound and the larger tread blocks and the sipes, there's more movement in the tyre, so you can feel that. It's a slightly softer tyre, a slightly slower response to turn into the corners, but actually once the temperature has dropped down to sort of freezing temperatures, of course that compound stiffens up a little bit and you notice that softness in the tyre much less in these dry, cold conditions. So drove the car in some pretty torrential rain on Friday. There's another advantage of having winter tyres or all-season tyres on, and that is that those larger tread blocks, those wider, more open water grooves in the tyre mean that it's fantastic in wet weather. So whereas in the BMW or on summer tyres it can get a bit skittish, as I've mentioned before, when you're going through standing water, these tyres are much better in standing water. So I think winter tyres are just an advantage when it's really cold and snowy, as you can see up in front. Well, no, they are a real advantage when it's torrential rain, standing water and all the rest of it. They are a safer tyre. So what I'm finding on this little stretch, the 686, is that, alright, if I drove the car immediately back to back with the summer tyres, I'd notice a difference, but actually the car's planted, it's got a nice sharp turn in, it's probably a little bit slower than it would be with the summers on, but actually if you jumped in this car not having driven it on the summers, you wouldn't know any difference. You would just think you were driving on sort of normal summer tyres at the moment. But that's where we're heading. If you look up there into the North Pennine Hills, the A686 over towards Alston. I know yesterday when we came up there was, I mean, literally sheet ice on the road. It was very difficult to stand up. People were stranded all up and down the road, and we were able to keep going. So let me, we'll come back to you once we get to the other side of Melbourne and we start getting up into the snow and ice, and I'll give you my impressions on the tyre and how it copes with those proper winter conditions. And what do you know? The 686 is closed. No doubt because of all the issues that they were having yesterday. So we'll whip it round and I will find another route around. I'm going to get you up into the snow today, but we'll switch the cameras off now and we'll come back a little bit later on when I found another route up into the hills. Okay, so plan A failed, plan B failed in my determination to find you some snowy weather. I've really failed in getting into the North Pennines, so I've just dropped back down a little bit further south into Cumbria, and I've set the sat-nav for the Tan Hill pub, which you may have heard of if you live in the UK. It's the highest pub in, or if it's England or the whole of the UK. I think it's England. That's the pub that always gets snowed in the first time we get some snow. I think the locals always know because it's always packed when it snows, so they get to stay there for a couple of days. I think it was snowed in all over Christmas and New Year a few years ago. So to be clear, I'm not out to get stuck today. If there's snow drifting across the road or if there's other problems, then I'm quite happy to turn around and come back. I haven't got a table booked at the Tan Hill or anything like that. But I just want to get up into the snow a little bit and give you a demonstration of just what a difference these winter tyres make when winter does arrive in the UK. Those of you watching in other countries where you regularly get cold weather and you regularly use winter tyres will be wondering what all the fuss is about. But here in the UK, most people, the vast majority of people, I bet it's got to be more than 95% of people, just stay on summer tyres all year round. And then the odd days when we get these winter conditions, they sit there spinning the wheels and struggling and faffing about, unable to keep moving. The roads come to a stop. Everything grinds to a halt. When actually the only change that people need to make is to put winters on the car if they want to keep going, or all season tyres. So we're still just a little bit below the snow line itself, but right on cue it started snowing just as I switched the cameras on before. And I can see the hills up in the distance. We're probably just maybe 100 metres too low at the moment for a significant settling of snow, but we're getting up towards it. So you might think, well, I've got a 4x4, I've got a four-wheel drive car. Why would I need to put winter tyres on? Well, there's plenty of evidence all over the internet, plenty of information for you to go and have a look, and I'll put a link in the description below to a couple of other videos from other channels where they do a comparison between four-wheel drive cars with summer tyres on and two-wheel drive cars with winter tyres on. And the winter tyres are always massively better than four-wheel drive with summer tyres. Now you've got to remember, in a car with four-wheel drive, the tree down nearly there, is it might give you a little bit more traction, but that's it. A little bit more traction going forwards. But if you're on summer tyres, it's not a lot. And then when it comes to braking and cornering, all the stuff that you really need to do when you're driving, four-wheel drive doesn't improve any of that for you. So here we are, bit of a steep hill, 20 degrees, sorry, 20% I should say. It's 20% and it's minus 3.5 degrees. There's a little settling of snow on the road there. And with these tyres on, absolutely no problem at all. But again, the snow isn't really settling here. So the other slight advantage that a 4x4 would give you is ground clearance. So one of the things I'm going to have to be careful of today is that although the tyres will give me plenty of grip and I can keep going, if there is snow drifting across the road further up here, I haven't got the ground clearance to get over it, and I could end up floundering and grounded on the snow. So I've got to be careful about that. Anything that looks like a significant drift across the road, if we can't see how deep it is, a bit like water, if you can't see how deep it is, don't drive into it. Another little tip, you're driving in these conditions, don't put it in any sport settings. So leave the switchable throttle control out of the sport setting. I sort of leave it in, I think this car calls it comfort setting, which is the normal default setting. You could of course put it into eco as well. Now eco is specifically designed to save fuel by giving you a softer, longer throttle travel. But actually that helps you when the weather conditions are like this, because it avoids a lot of torque going to the wheels. It gives you a softer throttle. A lot of people will talk about changing into a higher gear so there isn't that large amount of torque going through the wheels, and that prevents the wheels from spinning up, especially if you're not running with winter tyres on. Now, we might get an example of this here. We've got, is it a Discovery in front of us? Don't know what tyres he's on. see how he does it in comparison with us as this snow gets a little bit deeper. And here we are, the first bit of white stuff on the road. For some reason this fella's braking and accelerating up the hill at the same time. Now this is where winter tyres suddenly reveal themselves to you. This is where you think, oh my god, if I was on summer tyres now and I turned into this corner here, the car would just go straight on. Winter tyres 2, summer tyres 0. Look at the difference this makes. It really is significant, this. And especially if you live out in an area like this, these days with the choice of winter tyres that are available and the choice of sizes, why would you not? Look at the traction that I've got up here. I haven't had one inkling of wheel spin yet. I haven't had a flash on the dashboard from the stability control or the traction control. These tyres are just coping. Now what I'm trying to do is apply all the good principles of driving in this weather, smooth inputs. I'm not trying to accelerate here, I'm just holding a constant throttle. Speed's on about 18-20 miles an hour, you don't really want to be going any faster than that. And what I'm being really careful of is the drifting snow. I don't want to just plough unabated speed into a big snowdrift. That will leave me stuck. So you've got to look for the gaps in the walls, you've got to look for where the snow might be blowing through. But here, well, you just wouldn't get here on summer tyres at all. Morning.
Hiya.
How are you doing?
How far you mean to go?
So I just had a chat with the local farmer there, and he says yeah, it's drifting further up the road, so there's no point in us going any further. We'll bottom out in this. But I think it's a good example of what these tyres are capable of. Certainly as far as climbing is concerned. Let's have a look at braking and cornering now. We're going downhill. Here again, on your summer tyres, if we press the brakes here, the car will just turn into a sledge, but I'm braking. And alright, the ABS is just kicking in there, but look at that. Just come to a nice controlled stop. Certainly longer than you would do on tarmac, but it doesn't feel like we're driving on ice, I have to say that. Around this corner here, you know, we're going to have to be sensible with speeds. 15-18 miles an hour down here in second gear, and second gear is helping us, holding the car back. But if I press the brakes again there, we just come to a stop. Try that on your summer tyres. So it must have been a bad storm. The farmer was telling me he's had his electric cut off. It's going to be off for a couple of weeks. He's lived up here all his life. It's only the second time it's happened to him up here. Again, with the braking, nice and smooth. Just keeping a constant pressure on the brakes here just to retard the vehicle a bit. Not it running away with me too much. But get to a corner, turn the wheel, the car goes round. I know it sounds like another expense, it's another set of 4 tyres, especially if your tyres haven't worn out. That's a bit, I suppose is the thing that puts most people off in this country. But don't forget, you're getting twice the length of time out of those tyres because you're only putting them on the car for 6 months of the year. The other 6 months they come off, store them in the garage, and you're sorted for all seasons. So anyway, that's it for this video. Little example of what a difference snow tyres really do make, winter tyres I should say. Hope you enjoyed it, hope you learnt a bit of something. Have you already run with winter tyres on regularly in winter? Let me know if you do. Give me your thoughts. But for now, thanks very much for watching. We'll see you next time.